this is going to be round 2 of making job scripts. This is going to be a bit more advanced than the first video I made. Now, even though this is a completely different method, it's still the same basics, if that makes sense. So the only key difference will be that we're using third eye compatibility now, as you can see. So what I'm going to be doing today is walking through how I now make job scripts. Like I did in my first video, I made the SAS job. This time we're doing it for Ring Fring, which is a taxi company. We've got a character, Gus Fring, who wants a storage, boss menu, and a cloakroom. Now the problem is, like I said the first time round, if you don't want to spend 40 minutes watching through all that, is the problem with making videos like this is everyone's going to do stuff differently. Whether you have a different cloakroom than me, or just anything else in between, whether it be you're using a different boss menu. But this is how I would do it, and breaking it down, if I do it well enough, you should be able to swap and change the parts of which your job script will come in differently. Firstly, establishing the third eye. What I use is oxlib, qtarget. You can use oxtarget, but I just have found this way to be a bit easier. It's a bit more copy and paste friendly, especially when you're doing sort of 6, 8, 10 jobs, you know, loads of different locations at different times. It's also more friendly for what we have now in our team, which is trainee devs. So when I'm teaching devs, it's much simpler just to copy co-ords, paste it in, done. Now, looking back at my old video, something really frustrated me that I sort of broadcasted only a few months ago, that it was a good idea to run job scripts through threads. So getting straight into the coding side of things, there's a much better way of doing it now, of which I didn't really know about, but now that I do, I'm going to 100% promote it. And it's using the third eye. Now, there are many key benefits of using the third eye, but the most important one is it lessens the weight that you're applying onto the server at any given time. The reason for this is, with the old job scripts, just to pull one up quickly, this is what it was doing before. To break it down simply, I'm pretty sure I explained this in my old video. Every tick, so 1,000 times a second, this is running in the script. Now, if you were to multiply, so that this is just one job. Now, what this is doing, while it's true, which it always is, if your job is the SAS, which, as I said previously in my old video, it's constantly finding your coordinates if you have the SAS job. Every tick, bear in mind. Now, for every tick, it has to extract the zones and then show up either 3D text on your screen, so press E to, on this one it was open the safe, or draw the marker. But once again, this whole thing is running every single tick, and if you were to have, let's say, 12 jobs doing the same thing, I mean, what, you've got taxi, NHS, police, SAS, you've got, I mean, for me, it would be, we've got gangs which run through job scripts. To put this simply, it's doing this constantly, and it does affect the server. It does add up. So when you make scripts and when you refine them and when you make things easier for yourself and for the server, you really have to consider, is this worth it? We did a community vote. We asked the people, do you want to see more third eye stuff or do you not? Because it's not so much a new thing now. I mean, a lot of QB servers do explore into it quite a lot, but the problem is it's different. It's change than just walking up to a circle and pressing E. The only problem is it constantly has to look if you're near it to press E. So that is where the problem comes in, which creates server lag. What I've done is completely gotten rid of that entirely. And what I've done instead is create third eye targets, because, as I said earlier, it just generates a much less strain on the server. So to get things started, I just want to lay out what I sort of touched on a bit earlier, is that I'm using multiple different scripts to build this job script into one. So I'm using Chezza's inventory for our storage. So this is Chezza's v4. I would highly recommend it. And just to say, we do not use leaks in any way, shape or form. So I would always highly promote, go and support the people that make these things. They are amazing. They do a wonderful job and they really put their heart and soul into it. As you can see, we've got the boss menu here as well, which is it's core job utilities. I have heard that someone has managed to leak this. So it depends how moral you're feeling. I will always recommend to support the people that make these things, but yeah, there is a leak. I will not promote it in any way, shape or form. Just go and buy it. It's cheap. But yeah, so you've got the boss menu here. And then upstairs, so you've got core job utilities, Chezza's inventory. So that's already 2 scripts. And then you've also got up here, which is our Cloakroom. And this is FiveM appearance, or Wasabi's FiveM appearance. So we actually use FiveM appearance instead of clothes shops. It also stores all our wardrobes, tattoo shops, barbers, everything like that. It's much more all-in-one, which is what I was looking for. You've got 1, 2, 3 scripts running and plugging into this job script. So you can kind of see how multi-level this is. It's not just touch and go. It's not one neat package. You need lots of other things for this to work, if that makes sense. Breaking into the code here, just to start things off, you've got a blip, which is fine. It's harmless because all it's going to do is it's going to set the blip on the map, whatever color and ID you give it on the coordinates that you set. It's just going to create the blip. Very simple client-side stuff. And this does help, especially when you want to make blips. For example, you can actually reskin any blip on the map. As you can see, we've got NatWest, we've got the NHS logo, which is the UK's hospital. We've got Tesco, which is a shop. The Metropolitan Police. So because blips are easy to reskin through a YTD, you can actually change the logo of the taxi and just preset whatever blip you'd like. I'll link below the website that I find all my blips on. So the blip ID is 198, which is the taxi. The color 28, which is an orangey yellow. And then in this thread, all it'll do is it'll find the blips and just set it on your map. Simple as. I don't like things that are too big. I hate going on servers where they have massive blips for no reason. I always set mine anywhere below 1, unless if I've reskinned it and it's just a bit too small, I like to scale it up to fit roughly the rest of the map. But yeah, anything below 1 is ideal. Getting straight into all the third eye business, because there's not a single thread in this that's constantly running, looking to see if you're going to press E, which is what I enjoy very deeply. So start off with the storage. This might look a bit funky for some people that have worked with the third eye before. Don't be afraid. This is just the way that I do it. Now, like I said, straight away off the bat, you're looking at 3 scripts here, because what the third eye needs to work, it needs oxlib, which is overextended's library. Fantastic resource that comes packed with loads of other stuff which I use all the time, mainly the skill checks and the loading bars. They're amazing. You also need oxtarget and qtarget, which is the export that this is calling, but oxtarget also has a compatibility built in for qtarget. In layman's terms, you need other things. This is sort of the foundations that you set, so you've got all these other scripts that you need first, and this is what makes it a little bit more advanced, because it's not your standard job script. It's a bit higher level than that. As I said in my previous video as well, I've been doing this for over 3 years, and I think this is probably at the level where I would say if you haven't got things set up in place first, it's probably going to be quite hard for you to go from my last video to this one without a bit of experience in between. The main reason for that being, like I said, you need oxlib, qtarget, oxtarget, and then you've also got core job utils, Chezza's inventory, blah, 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 blah. There's all these other things that you need. Whereas previously in my other video, it's just make a job script, does everything for you, done and done. But the price of that is not only does it make it a bit more aged, I would say, because lots of other servers are still using the press E to da-da-da-da, so it makes it a bit dated, but also it's not progressive. It's not advancing your server anymore. It's just replicating what's already been done. So for something new, for something fresh, it does require a bit of learning. There's a huge learning curve to it, but once you get it, yeah, this is what you get in return. So I've added a box zone through the qtarget export, which I set. You can give it any label you like, really. Doesn't really matter, as long as it's different for every zone that you create. Vector 3, as I've done before, apart from it's easier this time, all you do is you copy the co-ords. Now that I've copied it, I paste it in here, but it's given me an extra one. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever copied coordinates from TX's menu. Well, there is another script that does it for you as well when you do /coords, but what it's actually copying is X, left, right, Y, forward, backward, and Z, up, down, but it's also copying your heading, so the direction of which you're facing. For this one, because it's only looking for 3 vectors, not 4, because there is a vector 4, which does include your heading. Because it's only looking for 3, you can actually get rid of this last little chunk here. Because it's only looking for, like I said, left, right, forward, backward, up, down, X, Y, Z. So now that you've set the X, Y, Z, when you copy the coordinates, for this box zone, you can actually set the length and width of the zone that you'd like to set. Now, bear in mind, this box zone will actually attach to the nearest entity, breaking down what the third eye does. If I were to set it right in the middle here, what the third eye is going to extract from whatever I set it is it's the nearest surface that I can link the black third eye to. So for example, if I set one right here in this space in the middle, if I were to set the Z coordinate higher, I can't third eye this because the nearest surface is actually that wall over there. I'd actually have to third eye the floor because that's the nearest surface that I could third eye to. So as it shows here, I'll go down to the computer, the boss menu. What I did is I set the coordinates when I was actually inside the desk. So what I would do is I'd hold down Alt and just no clip right under the desk like this. So I copied the coordinates like that. And all I did is I plonked them in here. I kept the same length and width. But now what I know this is going to do is bind to the nearest surface. So if I was to third eye this here, as you can see, that little blue dot is a bit lower than the desk, but that's fine because you can actually third eye the nearest surface, which is the monitor. When you third eye the monitor, as you can see, it opens up the boss menu for you, which is exactly what I wanted it to do. So like I said, it will bind to the nearest surface. If there's no surface there, it will just bind to the floor. Now that I've set the storage, the computer, the length, the width, and everything else, I would say giving it the same name as what you've given it up here is probably the right thing to do. Like I said, I really don't think it makes that much a difference, but you know, it's always good to overdo it than underdo it and have to go back on your work and redo it, if that makes sense. So as you can see here, like I said, you've got X, Y, and Z. This Z coordinate's really important because when you set the min Z and the max Z, these two have to be within the range of what you've set up here. So for example, if this max Z, if I set that for 73, the third eye won't work at all because this number is lower than this number. So I've done an absolutely massive min max. I've done 70 to 80, pretty much bang in the middle between where I've set my Z in the first place. Once again, you've got the heading, so the direction that you want to face when you actually open up the third eye, but then you've got some options. There are more options than these, but these are the only ones I need. For example, you've got your event, which is really, really, really important. I'll talk about that in a minute. You've got your icon, once again, font awesome. If you don't know what font awesome is, you're more than welcome to Google about to find the free options that you have. You've got your label, which is what will show up when you open up your third eye, and it will show the little selection menu, as you can see here, like that. So open boss computer, as I've set there, open boss computer. And then you've also got your job. So there's two versions of setting your job in the third eye. The first one is actually just giving it any grade. So any grade would be just in the quotation marks, just set the job grade, just set the job name, sorry. Or the other way to do it would be to have your squiggly brackets, don't know the real name, square brackets, don't know the real name, in quotation marks, set the job, and then pretty simple stuff you can tell. So 3 is boss for me, so I've just set 3 to open storage and the computer. And then lastly, coming down to your distance, so the distance of which you want to trigger the third eye. And obviously if it's something pretty big, you want it further away. But I think 2.5 is a relative distance. It's 2 meters, so about just over nearly 6.5 feet, I'd say. Yeah, not too bad. If you're ever having trouble with the third eye, and this is what makes it amazing, is because there's no guesswork with the third eye. For example, with the computer, if I can't trigger the computer for some reason, all I need to do is turn on debug poly. Just set that to true. And it'll actually show up a massive red box. So I know for sure the third eye is near here somewhere. Obviously I can tell with the little grey ring there, and it triggers blue when I'm near it. Another thing, if it triggers blue but it doesn't show the option, it means that either I haven't got the right job grade or I don't have something that I've already preset in the client-side script for it not to show up for some reason. So it should just show up if I've got the right job and or grade, which I do. So I'm actually taxi boss. Just to quadruple check that it doesn't work if I'm a taxi apprentice, for example. Like I said, it's showing up blue, which means it would work if I had the right grade, but I don't. So it's not going to work for me there. Let me just make sure to turn that off again. So now that I've copied the coordinates for the boss menu, the storage, and the cloakroom upstairs, all I need to do is actually find the right functions. It's all good and well me setting the third eye to go to the right place, but now what about when I click on it? Because all I've done is I've made the third eye. So now that we've got the placeholder, we need to actually set the event. So the second you click on it, what's going to happen? The way to relate this to my previous video is you walk up to it, you press E. What does E do? Well, this is the event. So we don't need functions here. There's not a single function in the site. All you actually need to do is set the event anywhere else in the client script. So as you can see, we've set up the third eye nice and neatly. We've got the event here, taxi, open, boss, menu. So once again, this might be a bit foreign to other people, but what this is going to do is actually call a different script. So if we go to this event here, I'm just going to control F, find the next. So I've registered the net event, which is what you have to do when you want to trigger an event in the third eye. So I've registered the net event, and the handler is open boss menu. Don't need anything else in the function. As you can see here, there's no extra little bits afterwards. It's literally just open boss menu. Once I've triggered that, it's actually going to trigger something else after you've opened the boss menu. This was something I made in the core job util script, which I'll show in a second. But what it does is it will trigger the event, job utils open, and then it needs a job, which is the taxi, and whatever label you want. Ring taxi co dot, which should show up here, as you can see. So ring taxi co. Now, if I was to go into core job utilities into the client, you will see that what I added was a separate event. This event that I set was to trigger any boss menu from any script anywhere. This net event is actually quite important for me, but obviously it might be different for you depending on what job boss menu you use. I would predict that you might use ESX Society, which is fine, but I don't actually use ESX Society at all. I've completely removed it. Paychecks from jobs, boss menus, society banks, they all run off either OK banking or this core job utilities. It's way cleaner for me, and I just find it a better experience. It has taken me some time to convert everything, of course, but everything's just all working together. So what I've set in this event is it finds the job and the label, which, as I set here, the job, the label. Now that it's found your job and your label, it'll actually open the boss menu relating to, you guessed it, the job and the label. This is a separate function, as you can see right there. Ding, 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 it's over here. So what I could have done to be a bit lazier, but also I guess it would have been a bit harder, is to put this server callback into every single job script. But as you can tell, it's going to beef up all of the job scripts quite a bit. Whereas if I were to just preset the net event in here, it just makes my life a bit easier, because then all I need to do whenever I need to access a boss menu is just trigger this little guy here. It'll do everything else for me if I've set everything up properly, which I hope I have. Now that we've got the boss menu sorted, because the third eye, like I said, is bound to the monitor, so I can third eye the monitor. That shows up fine. I've tested the debug. That works fine as well. The event is to open the boss menu, which triggers job utils open. Done and dusted. Do not need to worry about that. So the next one is the storage. Well, it's actually above the boss menu, but so the storage, like I said, we're using Chezza's V4 inventory. With this event, what you've actually got is the exact same thing that I used in my old video, which is the whole realism, immersive feel, you know, playing the little animation where you dive down and then you open the thing and then it opens your inventory. So I've actually integrated something a bit different here. Before I used what's called rprogress, whereas this time I'm using what's called I can't remember what it's called. Lib progress circle. Once again, something from Oxlib that they have so wonderfully provided for free, as long as you can figure it out. I hear a lot of people do struggle with it. It uses lib's progress circle. Duration 2 seconds, position at the bottom. You can't use it while you're dead, obviously. You can't cancel it. And it disables if you're in a car, because, you know, you shouldn't really be in a car when you're in your boss office. It plays the sound, but if you can't tell already, this is identical to my other video. The only difference is this storage opens a bit differently. So this isn't an exact copy and paste, but it's literally just because I have a different inventory. And whatever inventory you have, you will need to change this event as well, because once it's done all the funky client side stuff, that's all good and great, but then at the very end it has to actually open the storage inventory. So whether you're using Ox inventory stash or Chezza or whatever else, yeah, that would need to change, but that's all subjective. You would have to change that anyway. That doesn't matter. But what I've preset is it's the, I believe, label and the database name, if I understand that correctly. So if I put an emerald in there, it should instantly update the SQL with it, which, as you can see, it has right there. And then lastly, you've got the Cloakroom. So like I said, with FiveM appearance, all you need to set is the values which the Cloakroom is, which is already preset in FiveM appearance. All you need to do is go and find it, copy it, paste it in here, and it's all done for you. So yes, once again, it's still using lib. It's sort of a bit structured where you need oxlib and all the other bits and bobs that you need with oxlib to run FiveM appearance, and then following FiveM appearance, you need that for your wardrobes, etc. So it is all very structured, and it's very sort of one thing is built around everything else, which is, I can confidently say, my specialty. The only difference is some people would struggle watching this and go, okay, but I can't replicate that because I don't have this and I don't have this. So to run Third Eye, you really only need about 4 extra resources, which can replace loads of other resources. And it does make your server run better. The only problem is there might be some instability issues. You might have to change some other bits and bobs. But I would say the best addition I've found is that Ox is very compatible with pretty much any script you throw at it, as long as you preset some other stuff first. So just showing you here, what you have to do is run the shared script. So oxlib init.lua. That's to run anything to do with oxlib. So not just the Third Eye, like I showed you earlier. You can actually run the little radial loading thing at the bottom of your screen. And then all you do is you have Lua 54. Yes, simple as that. I'm sure you're probably wondering how I'm doing the taxi job when I'm not actually in the taxi job script at all. I'm in what's called all_jobs. The reason for that is because every job I've made now that has a storage, cloakroom, and boss menu is all client side. I don't actually need to do anything server side, which means I can actually put every single job script in one script. It makes it all a bit more compact, right? What you've got here, we've got Duncan Lewis. He works as a solicitor, which is a lawyer, I guess Americans would call it. What we've done, once again, it's just more Third Eye work. You just change the event names, the coordinates. He's got a safe of his own. It means that everything can just all run under one script. Makes everything very easy for everyone involved. And this is what happens when you have everything set up, ready to go, which means all I need to do, if someone wants a job script in, all I do is copy that, paste it to them. They send it back with the correct coordinates, and it's done. It's as simple as that. Whereas before it takes a bit of dev work, a bit of changing loads of labels and texts and making sure loads of SQL entries are set up perfectly. This way, all you need to do is change coordinates. Simple as that. That basically sums it up. To make a new job script, third eye compatible, all you need to do is, well, I say all you need to do, but all you need to do is change a few bits of your framework, update oxlib, get qtarget, oxtarget, and whatever boss menu you have, just set it in the boss menu event. Whatever inventory you have, set it in the inventory event, and you're done. And then you can literally copy and paste, duplicate, replicate, and enjoy. It's really that simple. Whereas previously, there's a whole lot of struggle, which you just don't need now. So yeah, this puts an end to client-side server lag. It puts an end to ESX Society errors. I mean, hello. Do you know how ugly that looks in the console when you multiply that by 20? It just brings a new wave of developing to the server. And I think this is the new way that servers should be built, is just everything through the third eye. Another thing that Ox does really well, I sound like such a fanboy, but is their door lock, of which I haven't got in the server right now. But it does all work together really well. I would not recommend it more than getting everything in the third eye, all your door locks working together, because then everything's just all in one as well. If you're looking for anything like that, set all your jobs up the way I have, set your boss menu up the way I have, and yeah, your server will be ready to go.